There we go. You know, the cue is always when it says recording in progress. I'm always waiting for that. So I'm not even sure if audience members are staring at us, waiting for us to start talking at that point. But nonetheless, hello, everyone, and wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in to another installment of our Sarwa webinars. Today, we're going to be discussing something really interesting that we've just recently launched, which is making saving great again. I'll admit a little bit of a background in the lead up to when we were about to launch this product. You know, we were discussing internally whether we should have a webinar to discuss this new product launch or whatnot. And typically, we don't really do that. We tend to have a lot of webinars that talk about best practices about investing, methodologies and whatnot. So I was a little bit hesitant, and I didn't think it was exciting enough to talk about a savings proposition. But I stand corrected to today because we've got a well over 600 registered participants in this webinar today. So thank you, and thank you for proving me wrong. Mark, you were right. I owe you lunch. The name is very fitting. Make savings great again. Make saving great again. So awesome. Maybe we'll do a little quick introductions. For those who are new to Sarwa, about who's speaking today. Mark.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for kicking it off, Eamon. So my name is Mark. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sarwa. For my Arabic speakers, Sarwa means wealth in Arabic. And our mission is to basically make investing and making your money work harder in a very simple way that's transparent, accessible. And we really want to change the perception of investing so that people can get started younger and invest more often. So the way we started as a company was about 5 years ago. We started as a robo-advisor where we basically help people construct portfolios and funds so that they could save for their most important goals like children's education, home buying, and retirement. And with time, we grew to add additional products across Sarwa Trade, Sarwa Crypto, and now Sarwa Save, which is our most recent product. And just to get disclosures out of the way, in terms of regulation, we are licensed in the UAE to provide these services. So the Sarwa Safe product is one that is under our Abu Dhabi entity, which is the Financial Services Regulatory Authority. So that's going to fall under that. And we're really excited about today to hopefully bring more life to something that's been traditionally boring, but very important, which is savings.
You said it, not me. Okay, and you're on recording. My name is Eamon Gebre. I'm the head of wealth advisor here at Sarwa. I've been here for 2 years, in the region for 12, working with organizations such as HSBC. I've spent well over 20 years actually having conversations like these with individuals who are looking for some guidance and support. Today is an exciting day. We are going to be talking about a new product launch, which has taken off like wildfire here at Sarwa. It's become a very popular launch altogether. There's a lot of questions, of course, and this is why we created this event. It's an open forum. Call it AMA, Ask Me Anything, whether it be product insights or as far as how we got to be where we are today with this product. This is the forum for it. Maybe I'll kick off with the first question, Mark. Why? Why Sarwa Save? Why now? Out of all times.
Yeah, of course. So for the past few years, savings hasn't been too interesting of a product, and in general, we haven't been either promoting it other than just storing a bit of an emergency fund type of situation. But more recently, we've seen the rates continuously go up higher and higher. And when we looked at our personal situation and that of our friends, family, and clients, we realized that a lot of us actually bank with the likes of ENBD, MSNBD, or HSBC. And we haven't seen, while the Fed rate has increased dramatically, we haven't seen the savings rate that the banks are offering increase in the same rate. And what that tells us is that a lot of these banks aren't really sharing the interest that they're getting with their customers. So like anything, as soon as our clients or when we see an opportunity to make money work harder, we looked at it. We looked at our partner banks and the likes of Saxobank, and we saw that they actually had a facility where we could be providing our customers a rate, and we landed at 3% to start with, and that's going to be something that changes monthly. But we felt like there was a huge gap between what was being offered locally and what you could get if you had the right knowledge, the right connections, and And these are some of the things that our retail clients trust us to do and to find these opportunities. So that's a lot of the why behind it. And when we launched at 3%, the first question was, what's the catch? What is it? And ultimately, it was if I were to oversimplify it, it's that a lot of these banks aren't really sharing some of that interest that they're getting on deposit with their customers. So we do things differently, and we've decided that this is something that we want to pass along, and we want to encourage people not just to invest and trade and own stocks, but also have a risk-free or almost risk-free way for Sharia compliant investors, savers as well, to be able to park their money and get rewarded for it.
No, that's great insight, Mark, and it probably echoed a lot through the conversations that we've had with our clients over the last, I would say, better half of almost a year, where we've seen the interest rates rise. The lending rates have definitely, you feel it. You go to take a mortgage, you go to take a car loan, and you'll notice that the rate that you're being offered is significantly more than what it was in the past. You would assume that interest rates on savings accounts would also increase proportionally, but unfortunately they don't. This is a period of time where typically there's an interest rate differential on what banks receive from interest income and what they actually offer to their customer base. And if you just do a scan all across the UAE, you'll see that not all banks are offering the same level of rates. Some are as low as 0.05%, and we've even seen some even more aggressive ones that are north of 3%. So there is a wide spectrum of different banks that are offering various different rates. But when we did our research, we saw that the average rate of savings accounts in the region are 0.8%. So I guess this is probably the reason why a lot of people have taken keen interest in our product altogether, because at 3%, and this is 3% on the current circumstances right now, with the expectations of interest rates potentially going up, that has the probability of that impacting savings accounts even better going forward. So I guess it's all good things really at this point in time. What I've noticed also, and just wanted to share, Mark, is that from our client base, I've seen some really interesting use of the savings account or savings option through Sarwa. We talk about this quite often, where about the importance of having an emergency reserve. And I mean, we say this over and over again, and everybody intimately understands it. But just because you have a savings account doesn't mean that you have to forego a decent rate of interest. Doesn't mean that you have to earn 0% interest. You can still try to make as much as you can in a very low risk, safe, liquid manner. Building a house is only as strong as the foundation itself, and emergency reserves are just that. And we're seeing a lot of clients now using the Sarwa Save account as their emergency reserves. In fact, they actually label it, for users that are, in this webinar with us today, you can name and customize and personalize your account that you have at Sarwa. You can name it according to a goal that you may have, or something that's, a memento for yourself. And I've seen, I wrote down some of the examples. I saw car, I saw house. That's a very popular one, especially for those who are planning on buying a house in the next year or so, give or take. It's a great place to park your money rather than, putting into the markets, which probably wouldn't be advisable considering the level of risk that you have to take. I saw travel money, literally, copy paste travel money. And the other one is my cash. Just that alone, my cash. It is just really nice to see that people really engaging with the platform and saving through Sarwa itself. Maybe we can share, Mark, a little bit about the product itself, its USP, for our Sarwa users, just so you could better understand it and how they can utilize it.
Yeah, you mean like more specifically the product, or how does it fit in your financial picture?
Both. Why not? Let's do both.
Yeah. Cool. So let's start with what it is. Basically, when we looked at a lot of our options, we noticed that a lot of our customers like to have the concept of an offshore account. Of course, we have both expats and Emiratis in terms of clients, but there was a lot of attractiveness to having their money, given that we are already working here, we live here. Maybe at some point we might leave the UAE, and these plans are all subject to change. We saw, first of all, have an extra interest to have an offshore account. And we looked at our existing partners, Saxobank being one of them, and we looked at their rate that was about 3%. And so ultimately, when you're investing with into Sarwa Save, Sarwa is not your bank. We're not a bank, but we work with our partners so that your cash is ultimately stored with Saxobank, and they are so they're the ones that are rewarding you for for parking your money there through us. So they're one of the banks we work with. And there's what's really cool about this the Sarwa Save product is that there's no lock-in. Typically in saving accounts, you have a certain period that you have to lock in your money, and or you have sometimes an account minimum to maintain, or you have a lot of rules where it just makes it complicated, or it's tiered. Sometimes they'll tell you you'll get 5%, but it's a promotional offer, or maybe it's the first $1,000 that has that rate, and then the remainder. There's a lot of things that we don't like in the financial industry, so we kept it very simple. It's literally just 3% annually, but the rate is calculated daily, and you get that interest on a monthly basis. So these are some of the headlines of Sarwa Save. And you mentioned a lot about emergency funds and having like 3 to 6 months of expenses. We've seen some people hoard a bit more and go more towards 12 months of expenses. There's no like definite answer. It really matters. It depends on your specific job, your specific financial stability. But one additional use case that I really like as well is, or that came up, is that some people wanted to, they're in between an active and a passive investor, and they just wanted to have a certain amount of money parked in Sarwa Save, so that whenever they believe it's the right time to enter, or they want to deploy an additional, like let's say a 50K or 100K or a bigger amount, that money is there so that instantly they can transfer from Sarwa Save to Sarwa Invest and have it deployed. So that was another use case that we've seen people ask us, where they didn't want to wait for the money to be sent from their UAE account to our account in Europe, or Saxo Bank's account in Europe rather. So that's another cool feature that as of next week, it's going to be instant. At the moment, it takes a day, but as of next week, you'll have basically instant transfers between Save and Invest. So not sure if you wanted to add anything on like the actual product, Eamon, but these are some of the main headlines.
No, I mean, I think you've done a really great job. I mean, I would just maybe reemphasize the fact that there's no minimums, no lock-in periods, no withdrawal fees. It's liquid. In both solutions, they're considered low risk. But I see a few questions regarding risk, and I think it's a perfect segue for us to maybe jump into the questions themselves. And just to the audience members, I do encourage you to type in your questions into the Q&A section. We've already had a number who jumped the gun and already done it, so congratulations for being the first ones through the gate. We're going to start taking them one by one. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay. I've got the first question here by Mohammed. He said, can I move funds between my Sarwa trade account and my Sarwa save account?
Currently, no, because Sarwa Trade and Sarwa Save are under different platforms. So unfortunately, it is a manual process. The reason that's also the case is we haven't prioritized that just yet, because we just see them existing in different areas of your financial life. So what we really, if we had to draw over like the perfect user journey of our customers, is you secure your Sarwa Save account for your first expenses, so 3 to 6 months of expenses, and after that you leave saving out of the picture and you can focus on investing and trading. So that's why we haven't really prioritized the transfer in between a trade and a save. But you can expect, for those of you that have been with us for a few years now, you're seeing the roadmap we're building to eventually be a one-stop shop where you can do all of that in one place. Transfers will be in one place. You've seen our funding time improve to, in some cases, it's instant when you fund via a card. So yeah, thanks for bearing with us a bit longer, Mohammed, but that's something that we're addressing actually in the upcoming month.
It's interesting. Some of the greatest innovations that we've done at Sarwa have been directly from client feedback. So feedback like this is really important to us, Mohammed. I can name so many different products and solutions that we've come up with just as a direct result of feedback that we've gotten for clients. So it is really important to us. So thank you. There's another question here by Anonymous, and I'll take this one. It says, what will make the interest rates that you offer fluctuate? great question, Anonymous. So let's take it on a product level because there's two products here. So Sarwa Save not only is a solution for conventional, Sarwa Save conventional, and then there's Sarwa Save for our halal investors, right? And they're two different instruments altogether. Sarwa Save is literally a savings account that's held through Saxobank. Similar to a bank account that you're familiar with in which you have your deposits, Saxobank itself is a bank and also a trading platform itself. Now, how does a bank, offer you interest? Well, in a sense, a bank basically takes your deposits and invests it either through lending for mortgages. They lend it for, personal loans. It could be lending for car loans, and the interest that they charge for lending to their customer base or to their users or any other low risk investment avenue that they may take, the revenue that they generate from that, basically they pay you an interest. That's how interest is generated on an account, but they keep the difference for themselves. Now, to your question as far as why they fluctuate, the level at which the interest that they can charge for lending will fluctuate according to the federal funds rate. And we've seen that rise over the last year. And currently it's hovering just close to 4.5%. And there's expectations in the near term, of course, no guarantees, that this will rise again, just in light of the current challenges that we're facing with inflation. So as that rises, there's high probability that the interest rates that the banks will offer will also rise. So that's how Sarwa Save is basically structured. Savings account, you receive interest from the bank, who in turn basically utilizes your money to generate more money from it. That's how you receive your interest. Sarwa Save Halal is a different instrument altogether. In fact, Sarwa Save, and I want to make sure I get this exactly right, so I'm going to read to you exactly what I wrote. It's a money market account, which is low risk, liquid investment that invests primarily in a diversified portfolio of Sharia compliant money market instruments such as Rabaha and Wakala. The underlying assets will normally include commodities contracts, trade-based contracts, and Islamic bonds or sukuk. The income or the profit that's generated is directly as a result of the revenue that's generated from these very low-risk investments. So that will fluctuate, again, from time to time. And hopefully that answers your question, Anonymous. Okay.
Cool.
Good. Anything you want to add on that one, Mark? Or did I over talk on that one?
No, that's good. Just related to that, given you covered halal, we have a question around the 3% on halal. Is it before or after deducting fees? Or how does fees apply to halal?
Yep, absolutely. Just on that question, so the projected 3% is net of our Sarwa management fee, which is 0.5%. So the projection is actually higher. You're looking at 3.5%, and we factored in the 0.5% of our Sarwa management fee.
Yeah, for those that are not familiar with just Sharia compliant way of in finance, basically the constraint is to avoid interest, and there are products that are built in a way where it's not built with interest in mind, but offers you the benefit of a lower risk product. So one question from Andrea: what does it mean? What does it mean that even related to the savings account, there are associated risks? Can that happen that you put in 10K and end up with an amount below 10K at any point in time? So I'll cover, or I guess assuming from your name that it's a conventional account, but correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, the risk that you're bearing is, it's not invested. This remains in cash on Saxo's balance sheet. So what you're taking on is the risk of the bank. And that's why it's really, really key to choose the right bank. And that's why we've taken time to get comfortable, to make sure that we have the right partner. And we have a lot of trust in Saxobank as a 40-year-old organization they're regulated in so many different areas, so many jurisdictions. And of course, their financial health, you can find their statements online. But that's what a lot of our team's been doing, so that we have confidence in the bank itself. And this is where Ayman was mentioning earlier, a higher interest rate isn't necessarily better, right? You want to find a rate that matches the current environment of the Fed rate. But sometimes I remember when we started with Sarwa, we had certain people come to us saying, my bank back home in an emerging market is offering me 10%. why would I invest when I can save and get a guaranteed 10%? This is where if you see that the Fed rate is around 4% and your bank is more than doubling that rate, this is where I would start to get more cautious around the risk involved. But yeah, I just realized I went on a bit of a tangent. So that's where, like, ultimately there's no free lunch in finance. There's a risk and reward relationship. But the main thing to take away from is this a good rate is to look at what are the rates of the Fed rate at the moment. And if it's near to that, then you know that you're getting a good deal.
No, it's actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Mark, because you know, some may point fingers at their banks and say, well, you're not offering me, you know, the same rate as this other institution is. And it's not because they're quote unquote bad guys or anything of that sort. What happens is there's a lot of variables that go into offering you an interest rate in a, you know, in a savings account or a current account for that matter. It could be maybe the internal, you know, needs of that bank itself. Maybe there's a lot of costs that they have to take into consideration. So whatever revenue that they're generating may be being absorbed by the expenses itself. It could also be maybe macroeconomic factors as well. It could be maybe competitive variables as well. So it's not just clear cut to say, okay, this bank is, you know, offering me a lower rate than this bank, and as a result, it's not a great bank. No, that's not the story. It's at that present point in time, they're just not able to offer you a higher rate, but some institutions are because of their financial structure or their liquidity that they have in their institution, which means that they're very comfortable to be able to extend a higher level of interest to you. That is the, you know, present circumstances with Saxobank right now, where they are able to offer a very competitive rate. They're a very lean organization. You know, just a little bit more about Saxobank. You know, they operate in 15 different jurisdictions. They're licensed as a bank in Denmark and Switzerland. They've got over 820,000 clients globally. They've got over $90 billion in assets under management, and they've been operating for well over 40 years. But when you look at proprietor risk, that's the risk that you're comparing it to. When it comes to the halal solution, I know you didn't ask it, Andrea, but I would imagine someone else is probably going to ask it in the audience. The halal solution itself operates just like any other security. The moment that you purchase the money market fund, it is automatically sent to the third-party custodian, which in this case is Citibank, which means that your shares are kept safely at bay with the custodian, to which that you could at any point in time decide to move over to another custodian or another institution should the worst ever happen. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just conscious there's 49, there's a lot of engagement. So I'm just gonna keep us on track so that we can get through as much as possible.
All right.
Alexandra, you're asking, how does Sarwa make money? What's your revenue model? Basically, you can see all of our fees on our pricing page. So it depends on which product you're referring to. On Save, we don't charge any fees on Save. So that 3% is something you're getting. There's no account fees or any other fee. The way we make money is through our banking partners rewarding us for bringing assets to their balance sheet. On Sarwa Save Halal, we do charge a 0.5% management fee on the balance. So this is something we're going to be, obviously, depending on the rates, revising so that it stays healthy, where we all make money. And if we start to see that the rates are going down, that's something we would revise. But our goal is to keep it as advantageous as possible while building a sustainable business.
Really?
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, I was going to jump to the next one around just outside the UAE.
Yes.
Maybe you can take that one. In case my
sure.
UAE account expired while I'm outside UAE, is it okay to transfer it to my local account?
Absolutely. Look, the Sarwa platform itself, irrespective of what jurisdiction you're in, this is an international platform. Wherever you go, you can take the platform with you. We have a number of users over the years who've moved on to other parts of the world, who've decided to maintain the account, and some of them have decided, hey, look, it was a nice journey, but I'm in a new country and I found other solutions in that country that meet my needs, and they've closed their accounts, whether in advance or while they were there. You can transfer your money to any bank account that you hold around the world, providing you're not in a sanctioned country, because that's going to give us problems with our regulators. So other than that, you're absolutely fine to transfer to anywhere in the world.
Awesome. The next one we have is how advantageous or more favorable is this product to a REIT, a real estate investment trust? So I would say they're two completely different products. A REIT is something we have in our invest product. So we have some exposure to real estate through investing. However, saving, as I was saying earlier, we see it much more, think of it more as a prerequisite. So once you have up to 12 months, but typically we see 3 to 6 months of expenses in Sarwa Save. Beyond that, this is where you're ready to become much more of an investor, and you're in asset classes like stocks, real estate, and obviously when I say stocks, this is across many geographies and smaller companies, bigger companies. So they're really different, and one I would say enables the other, where we see this as a starting point, or if you started investing before saving, I would say maybe this is a good time for you to build out that part in case you have an emergency fund so that you don't tap into your investing.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Mark. There's a great question by Sohail, who asked, is the interest paid out annually or monthly? Happy to take that on, Sohail. So let's start with Sarwa Save Conventional. The interest basically is accrued on a daily basis and paid out monthly. So at the beginning of every single month, you have the interest be paid out to you directly into your Sarwa Save account. Even, for example, halfway throughout the month, you decide that you need this deposit, maybe you're putting a down payment on a house or whatnot, the interest that you would have accrued for those 15 days will be paid at the beginning of the following month. So that's how that Sarwa Save Conventional works. With regards to our halal proposition, it's a money market fund itself. So what you're going to see is that the income that you're generating on the fund itself accrues daily, and you'll actually see it reflecting in your portfolio daily. So suppose you invested $100,000 and you earned $1 worth of income on day one. Well, you're going to actually see 100,001 on your portfolio. So your portfolio just grows according to the income that's generated on the money market fund itself. All right, let's go on to other questions here. There's a lot of repeat questions, which I think we've already answered. So I want to try to get some new ones here to kind of illuminate the product.
I have so there's one from Debjani that is really good. What is the benefit of opening Sarwa Save versus a high yield saving account with Saxobank directly? The benefit there, I would say, is twofold. The first one is you get to have all your investments and saving in one place, so that you don't need to have your money just scattered across so many apps. So that's something where we feel strongly about, to consolidate it into one app. The second one I would say is, as an institution, we do get better rates than retail accounts. So that's something you can look at with them. But these are some of the benefits that apply across all our products, where when people ask us, how can you afford this kind of pricing? A lot of the times it's due to us being an institution rather than a retail investor.
Yeah, spot on, Mark, honestly. A good one. There's another one here. What are the benefits of using Sarwa Save versus Sarwa Invest? And this is by Alexandra. And if you're new to us, Alexandra, it's a really brilliant question, because there are key differences. Sarwa Save is ideal for short-term needs. I repeat, for short-term needs, it's ideal because it's a liquid account and you earn a decent rate of interest. But that decent rate of interest pales in comparison to what the average rate of inflation is over an extended period of time. What you want to do is you want to make your money work as hard as possible for your long-term needs. And that's where investing in capital markets have usually been the most beneficial for investors themselves. So Sarwa Save, ideal for something short-term, something liquid, for your emergency reserves, or something that's coming up in the next year to two. Anything in a longer period of time, there's a opportunity cost. It'd probably be best or wise to actually make your money work hard for you by investing in the capital market. And Sarwa Invest basically gives you a diversified pool of investments to help you grow your wealth over an extended period of time. But feel free to reach out to us, Alexandra, if you want a little bit more clarity on these two solutions. Reach out to our customer support team or make an appointment with one of our advisors. We'll be happy to help you.
Awesome.
Kareem had a question about the turnaround time on Sarwa Safe for deposits and withdrawals, et cetera? Now, that's a brilliant question, Kareem, because one of the ethos that we talk about is make sure that the emergency reserves are liquid, easily accessible, and you don't have to wait an extended period of time to access them. So this is a liquid account. And what happens is when we receive your deposits here, we transfer it directly to Saxobank. It'll take 1 to 2 business days for it to arrive at Saxobank. As soon as it arrives, it starts accruing interest right away. In reverse, if you're looking to make a withdrawal, I would give it 2 to 3 maximum working days. And I'm being actually very conservative here because I don't want you to hold me accountable that if it comes in on the 3rd day, but you're looking at on average 2 days, but maximum 3 days, because we have to we call that money back to the UAE, it comes to us, and then we transfer the money over to you. So you're looking at 1 to 2 to get there, 2 to 3 for it to come back.
Awesome. I'll take the next one. So we have an anonymous question about someone providing another 4% with no lock-in, no fees, and same conditions. So I think we addressed this earlier, but I think you'll see a wide range of interest rates available at the moment. From our analysis and in terms of the risk we're comfortable with, we believe 3% is currently just a good basically balance between risk and return without having to take on just more balance sheet risk. So if you want us to give an honest review of the product, sometimes you do that if you're an existing client, but ultimately this is up to you to go with the one that suits you most.
Amazing. There was a question here with regards to card. I guess maybe future product idea altogether.
Yeah.
I just lost it. It said, have you considered having a Sarwa card in which that the profits could be basically put onto the card, and that card could be used for day-to-day purchases?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we're looking at as well.
Awesome.
What is the average and highest percentage on the fourth? All right, sorry, let me take that one. Michael, you're asking what is the average and highest percentage on the 4th risk on Sarwa Invest? The highest.
Oh,
so
I think he's talking about the historical returns. Is that what
yeah,
he's referring to? You know what you can do is, Michael, we can always send you the link. It's actually publicly available. We don't have anything to hide. We report our returns, our historical returns, right on our website. So if you just go to our homepage, you'll be able to go to the drop-down menu, and you'll be able to see our historical returns for all of our products and all various risk profiles, Michael.
Yeah, so if you type Sarwa historical performance on Google, you'll see it. But just while I have you here, so a balanced portfolio for the last decade or so, or I guess since 2008, has returned approximately 8.4%, which is roughly what we expect a portfolio to behave. And that's because we track the market, by the way. We don't try to beat the market or generate alpha. You'll always find that the Sarwa returns match what you're seeing in the stock market, because we believe in diversification and matching it. We see too many mistakes being done with people trying to generate excess returns.
The quick one here, Mohammed says, what's the currency of Sarwa Save? Is it USD or dirham? USD. That is the base currency for all of our investment solutions here and saving solutions at Sarwa. There's a question here about security of our investments, whether it be Sarwa Trade, Sarwa Invest, or Sarwa Save. This is by Ahad, and I think that's a really brilliant question to address. Do you want me to address this one, Mark, or do you want to take this one?
Go for it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the safety and the guardrails that we have in place when it comes to Sarwa in itself. Number one, our regulators, and for those of you who've actually asked and appreciate it, we're regulated by two of the strongest, entities within this region itself. We're regulated by the Dubai Financial Services Authority, and we're also regulated by the Financial Services Regulatory Authority. You're not able to be regulated with these entities if you don't have all checks and balances in place to protect your customers. We work very much hand in hand with them as an open page policy with our regulators to make sure that our customers are always being taken care of. So this is through the IFC and the ADGM. Secondly, let's look at the guardrails. At no point in time are we custodians of your assets. We work with established protocols that have been around for many, many years to make sure that your assets are always kept at a distance from the broker who's managing your relationship. So in the case of Sarwa Invest, we are, using Saxobank as the platform, the engine for, as, if you will, to power all the trades that we're doing for your portfolio. The assets or the shares themselves are being held with a third-party custodian, which is Citibank. Even when it comes to Sarwa Trade, Alpaca is our partner. They also have a third-party custodian for all of your assets. So in all cases, you are protected should the unlikely ever happen, where you are able to recall your assets and move them over to other institutions. Anything else? Just trying to see any different questions. A lot of similar questions here.
We have one that's from Philippe. So Philippe, you're asking, one of our competitors offering 4%. Would you plan to raise the interest to align? So this is an important distinction where I would say there's a difference between getting interest and having a projected rate. So there's a difference in a money market fund and an interest rate. So to find a money market fund or a product that is estimated at 4%, this is where you get much more closer to an investment. So if you notice on Sarwa Invest, we won't come in and say guaranteed 7%. That's actually a red flag if someone does that. So that's why we'll tell you that's how it's expected to perform, as opposed to Sarwa Save, where this is where we want much more certainty. And you're going to see that the math adds up exactly to 3% during that month. That's kind of one distinction. And it's really, really key that you understand that, because personally, whenever I see another financial firm or one of our clients ask us, what do you think of this? I like to look at their track record as well and see how it compares to the market. So if you start to see a big difference, like the one you mentioned, where there's a massive difference in underperformance in some years, that you're going to find your answer. So excessive risk taking is something that we've seen some players do, and it leads to underperformance over the short term and the long term.
Thank you for that, Mark. There's a great question by Paramaswaram. I hope I said it correctly. I was practicing a little bit right before I said it. The question was, once the Fed rates start cooling off within a year, does that mean that the 3% will drop? Will the rate start lowering? Is there a minimum that's going to be set by Sarwa? Great question, because spot on. The reason that we're even in the position to offer you this level of interest is because the Fed rates are at that level. But you could also assume and understand that if the Fed rates should drop, then interest rates will also drop from being provided by Sarwa through Saxobank itself. It's a direct reflection to the current macroeconomic factors, to the current interest rate environment itself. That's why savings accounts rates through your banks fluctuate. They go up or down all the time. This will be the same as well with us, Paramaswaran. So right now, this is an opportunity that's yours for the taking. But 2 years, 3 years from now, it may not be as exciting. And this is the reason why I mentioned, again, I want to double down. This isn't ideal for a long-term solution. The average rate of interest historically has always been lower than inflation. That's not the best way to help you grow your wealth. And that's why there's other solutions. But on a short-term basis, this could work really well for you. And also for your emergency reserves, for other short-term goals that you have, this is an ideal place to earn the most that you can with your deposits.
Mm-hmm.
It says, can you please, one by Zishan, can you please guide me if I can invest through the app, as I can't find any option? So Zishan, there's a little pop-up on the bottom that basically prompts you to to say, hey, would you like to open a Sarwa Save account? If you're not seeing it, you may not have the most up-to-date version of the app itself. Maybe worthwhile to just download the most recent version of the app, and then you'll be able to see it there.
Nice. Okay.
So many questions. I don't know how we're going to get to it. And I know we're well over time, and I apologize to the audience, but thank you for sticking it out with us.
Oh, we're good. At a good rate. Okay, I think we addressed the what if rates change part. So if they drop, you see the rate drop. If it increases, you'll see this rate increase. All right, let me, a question from Huda. I'm currently using Sarwa Trade and Sarwa Invest, and I think Sarwa Save is a great idea. However, I'm actually uncomfortable having all my wealth packed in all in one entity, which is Sarwa. What are your thoughts? I believe we answered this, Huda, but just to to make sure it's extra clear, as Ayman was saying, we're not the ones actually ensuring the custody of your bank. So I'll take Sarwa Invest as an example, where we use and work with Saxobank as a brokerage and custodian. Even them, they have a system of guardrail where Citibank and HSBC are sub-custodians. So this is where what we were mentioning earlier, where once you're regulated and you've worked with partners such as these, you ensure that there are many areas that are protecting you throughout the process, so that you're not taking any one specific firm risk, especially when it comes to securities. When it comes to Sarwa Save, this is where it's different than trade or invest that are securities, and it's in cash. And that's where it's not even Sarwa. This money sits with Saxobank, as we're not a bank. Hopefully that helps and makes you more comfortable. We can chat on it more through our support or one-on-one. Will expats pay tax on the interest earned in Sarwa Save?
And thankfully, no. Because of the fact that we don't have, well, I should caveat, in the UAE, we do not have capital gains tax. We do not have income tax. And as a result, you do not pay any taxes on, profits or income that you generate from your portfolio. There is a thing called dividend withholding tax, but that's specific to securities, meaning stocks or ETFs, but not to savings accounts. Hope that answers the question, Rahul.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. So there's I think maybe we need to kind of clarify again, because the same questions come up a few times, as far as how is the interest calculated? When do you receive it? Is there a lock-in period? So just to really quickly reiterate on this one, this is for Sujit. Interest accrues daily. The Sarwa Safe conventional account gets paid out every single month at the beginning of every single month. It gets accrued daily, so that means that regardless of whether you're in the savings account for the entire month, or whether halfway through the month, or maybe even 5 days, you receive credit for those number of days that you have your money deposited with Sarwa Save conventional. For our halal portfolios, because this money is actually being invested in instruments and securities, through the fund that's being used for the money market fund, the balance actually reflects every day, what the value of that portfolio is. So if you generated $1, again, as an example, of income on day one, your portfolio will be up $1 plus the principal, which means that you can withdraw it at any point in time. There's no lock-in period. There's no minimum holding period. There's no minimum balance that you need to maintain. I mean, you've got to start with at least $1 though to be able to start the investing. So you can't invest $0, of course, but you can take out your withdrawals at any point in time.
Mm-hmm. Can we have a joint account with Sarwa Save?
Absolutely. In that case, please do reach out to our customer support team, and they'll be able to do the needful for you in the back end. So absolutely, we can.
All right. Okay, I think we clarified a lot about the rate. And we clarified fees.
I think I've seen this one question repeat several times. So when we say 3%, is that 3% per month? Is it 3% per year? I wish it was 3% per month. I think a lot of us might just abandon all of our investment strategies to get a guaranteed 36% per year, but no, this is 3% annual, accrued daily, paid out monthly. It's 3% annual. Okay. What else do we have? A lot of them quite, repetitive. Okay.
A question from Nicholas on FX, like what are the conversion rates?
Yeah, so we have this posted on our site. It's funny, we were just talking about it today, and let me just grab that for you guys. Just bear with me. So when you're looking at the FX rate, so you're looking at from dirham to dollar, there's a FX, of course, that's being applied here. Very small, tiny margin is what you're looking at from the base currency itself, or from the base rate itself. So if you're looking at the peg currency between dirham and dollar, 3.6725, The FX rate that we are charging is basically 0.26% is exactly what is the difference in FX between the two to be able to convert from dirham to dollar. So it's quite minimal and actually quite competitive as well if you compare it to other banks. Again, one of the benefits of working with an institution is that we also have negotiating power. And with our institution, our bank, we managed to be able to obtain a very competitive rate that we pass on to you.
Cool. Question from Naufal around investing $20,000 and trusting the market in order not to lose the money. So someone wants to invest $20,000. What do you tell them? And they're afraid of losing it.
I would honestly take a step back and maybe I don't know. Were you asking me, Mark? Sorry, or were you going to answer that one?
Yeah. No, let's do it.
Look, I think take a step back and let's understand what your goals are, right? Why are you investing in the first place, the $20,000? How does that goal apply to the decision that you've made to invest? Because some goals might be very short-term in nature, and some goals might be too precious and too sensitive that maybe you can't afford to take the risk. And that's why there's different investment solutions for every individual out there in the world. There are some, like Sarwa Save, which are relatively no risk or very little risk. And then you've got investment solutions that go on a gradient from level 1 all the way up to maybe level 100. So it comes down to well, what's the ideal investment solution that you are comfortable taking for the goal that you're trying to achieve? And what level of risk are you willing to take? And that's where having a conversation with an advisor to help you kind of unpack your goals, to understand what level of tolerance you have, to also maybe educate yourself on how investing instruments work. All of this will make you a better investor at the end of the day, which will give you a little bit more confidence, will also help you see the opportunities that are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
So much. I'm trying to read and my eyes are just going like this because there's so many questions. Maybe we should take a couple of more. Mark, are you okay with that? Or do you want to, do you have the availability to stay a little bit longer?
Yeah, let's go out. It's rapid fire. But hopefully that answers your question, Ahmed. I understand you had invested in gold earlier, and that's why we're always doing these sessions and discussing diversification as much as possible so that people don't get into a trap where they put all their money in one thing that seems safe but is actually quite volatile. So for each person, there's a different risk profile, and that's what Ayman was encourage you to take a step back so that you have the right risk profile and think of it as a long journey as opposed to just that one trade or that 20K. Ultimately, you need to generate a lot more than that to retire from it.
There's a question about Deepak. Kind of touched on it, but maybe let's succinctly say this. So what are the risks one should be aware of in case of interest-bearing savings accounts? Very simply, to give an example, you have a bank account, UAE. Let's take that as an example. Your deposits are with that bank. The risk that you have is proprietor risk, which is, well, my money is with XYZ Bank. My salary goes through to them. My credit cards with them. Debit card, savings account, etc. My entire financial relationship is with that bank. So when it comes to risk, it's completely isolated and localized to the proprietor risk, which is your bank. So when we talk about Sarwa Save, it's the exact same thing. The proprietor risk would be as little or as unlikely as it might be, just by definition, that's a risk, is Saxobank in this case. Okay. Now, when it comes to instruments, when we talk about stocks, when we talk about mutual funds, when we talk about ETFs, the risks that you have are market risk. Your principal is not insured when you invest in the markets. It's subject to fluctuate in valuations due to market conditions. And as a result, that would be your risk. It's market risk or counterparty risk. Market risk in that sense, Deepak. Hopefully that should answer that question for you.
Yeah, I think so. I think we covered it, Ayman, but thank you as always for the engagement, everyone. And in case there's anything that we didn't cover to the extent that you wanted, please reach out one-on-one so that we can go into it further. And you can reach us in many ways on social media, through WhatsApp, or you can schedule a call with with one of our advisors. So we have many channels to get in touch, but really appreciated that you spent your evening with us, and we're here to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's always a pleasure hosting these events. I don't know if I missed the signal, but is this the end of the webinar, or are we still going?
Let's do it. No, you can go play paddle for now.
Guys,
Right.
have a wonderful evening. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming out. This is a recorded seminar, webinar, so you will receive a copy of this. If you have any further questions, reach out to us. Promise you we don't bite. Have a wonderful evening,
All right.
everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Amen.
Bye.
Ciao.